session, don't worry, because this session will be recorded and will be uploaded on both Talent and Facebook pages. Well, that's basically your cue to start following us on social media to get more updates. And last but not least, please take some time at the end of the session to fill in the feedback form that will be shared, uh, that will pop up on your screen upon exiting the Zoom call. So without further ado, I would now like to welcome Mr. Sarveen Kandiah to join us today. Hello, Mr. Sarveen.
Hi, Fatin.
So everyone, how are you?
Not too bad. Just getting my second cup of coffee in.
So everyone, Mr. Sarveen here, on top of his over 7 years of achievement in the banking and finance sector, is also currently the managing director at OpenLearning, a cloud-hosted learning platform and a global marketplace of world-class courses. This shift in his career towards education technology was motivated by his personal experience with learning online. And currently, he is now setting the strategy for open learning in Malaysia and will be leading the implementation in scaling better quality education for all, bridging the industry academia gap, building partnership for enterprise, and positioning platform for Asian. And guys, this amazing person, Sarveen, will be here with us today to share about micro-credentials and the importance of them. Sarveen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Fatin. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you're calling from. It's a real pleasure to kind of chat with you guys in terms of these kind of events. The purpose of today is kind of share with you my stories, share with you whatever ideas that I may have, but more importantly, to kind of answer the questions that you have. Because it always comes down to everyone's unique situation and everyone's unique background and profile. So please feel free to ask questions as much as you want. I will try to get to them as much as I can. Or Fatin will save me and trying to get as many questions there. Just as a reminder, try to put the questions in the Q&A chat and not in the chat room, right? That'll make life a lot easier as we go through the whole process, all right? And just put your questions in whenever you want. You don't have to wait till the end. I'll try to answer them as we go whenever it's relevant. But worst case scenario, I'll kind of answer it towards the end, okay? Yeah, so just a little bit of background. My name is Sarveen. I'm from Malaysia, KL. Kind of grew up here in Tamantun, if anyone's a Damansara boy or a girl. Kind of did my degree in finance in Indiana University. Came back and I worked for CIMB for 5 years, where I was part of group strategy and private equity. And then I kind of got the itch and I kind of jumped and started a hedge fund. I joined a hedge fund, Malayan Traders Capital. And after that, upon a lot of thinking, I kind of made the jump to kind of try to do something in the education space. And here I am today in an edtech company called OpenLearning, where we're trying to change the way education should be delivered online. But that's just a little bit background in terms of where I come from, right? I also kind of show you that I'm not just finance, it can be education, it can be anything. That's kind of how it started. But just to kind of kick things off, just a little bit more casual. I think what really inspired me to kind of talk about it and the stories I can tell you is it all starts with one question as a kid, right? Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm pretty sure if you're coming from Malaysia, at least, you definitely got that question at least once in your life. When I was growing up, I kind of spent a lot of time with my grandfather. He'll come and ask me like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And I'm like 7 years old or 8 years old. And I'm like, maybe a football player. At that time, David Beckham, Ryan Giggs kind of thing. Or I probably just watched a police show and I'll say policeman. Credit to my grandfather, he'll just nod and just smile and then just say, okay, cool. But then, right, every time like an uncle comes over or like an older cousin, he'd be like, oh, meet this person. He is a lawyer. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then, hey, meet this person. This is a doctor in, hospital X. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then, as you get older, you kind of unlock the cheat code. All they wanted you to say when they ask, what do you want to be when you grow up, in at least for my family, is either a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or accountant, right? If you can say any one of these four words, you're set, right? And then if you're a kid, that's like the cheat code to a game, right? Whenever someone asks you that question, you just answer one of these four. I'm pretty sure they'll be happy. They'll be like, oh wow, you're smiling. So when they keep asking you, you keep answering, and you thought, oh, you're golden, right? Because you're getting these answers and they're happy. But what's really happening is actually you're conditioning yourself to think that doctor, lawyer, engineer, some say accountant, are more important than the rest. You keep saying this to yourself again and again, and like Sunisa saying, typical Asian family, saying the same thing. It kind of begs you into that same thing, and it kind of conditions you to say that these are the main topics that you go into. And that's kind of end up where you study, right? It kind of like always comes into your filter list on whether you want to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant, right? And that's the kind of way I started. Couldn't be a doctor because I was really bad at science. Didn't really want to be a lawyer. Really hated engineering, science. So accountancy was somewhere along the lines, but I thought finance was cooler than accountants. So sorry guys, but actually now looking back at it, having a core accounting skills is really important, way more important. But yeah, so that's how I ventured into finance. Kind of a little bit connected to accountancy, but still finance. But to be fair, when I graduated, I still told my grandfather I'm an accountant because that makes life a lot easier in terms of the way you explain. So that's kind of the backstory, right? And now I'm in finance, and then I graduate, I come back, and I take a job with CIMB, part of the investment banking agenda, right? So here I am, finance degree, coming in, doing it. First day on the job, I'm sitting next to a chemical engineer. I'm sitting next to a mechanical engineer, someone who did PR, someone who did maths as a major. And I'm going, huh? How did you end up here, right? What is your degree, and how are you ending up here? And then that got me thinking, right? Like, what is the metric that actually gets you get the job, right? If I'm in the banking industry, I'm sitting in CIMB and I'm sitting next to an engineer or a math major. In theory, does the major really make a big difference, right? Does the major really make sense, right? And that's when you kind of drill down even further and go, huh, what's going on here, right? And how do you go? So I want to share with you something, right? I'm just going to kind of share my screen. 1 second. Can you see my screen? Fatin, can you see my screen?
Perhaps it's still loading for me.
Let's pause. Okay, let me try that again. Copy, optimize.
Still loading.
Still loading. Sorry, guys. I am in online education, but sometimes online might be a little tough in terms of how you maneuver. Something's not right. Okay, let me try this again. I guess one more time and see whether this works. Got it?
Oh yeah, got it.
All right, let's do this. Okay, guys. Sorry for the little mishap, but okay. So this is a live website, right? I believe you guys kind of heard from Highly yesterday. This is a job portal, right? And I click jobs and I specifically put fresh grads to kind of just show you what it's all about, right? So I'm just going to go through this job posting. So I want you to see here for digital marketing executive. In terms of the job description, job requirements, does it it says nothing about your major, nothing about your degree, nothing about what you studied. All they say is strong command in English, apply. Okay. And then what they do spend a lot of time on is the skills or the job role that you will be doing, right? Look at how many things here versus job requirements. Okay, this is an actual job ad, right? Perform keyword search, SEO tools, creative writing, and job. Okay, let's try another one, right? Key accounts manager for Sidekick, about the job. So a lot of conversations about being able to communicate. You got to be responsible for project budgets. You got to manage and handle the platform. Now, candidates must possess at least a diploma, graduate diploma, etc. Nothing to do with the exact diploma or exact major that you're in, right? Everything else is somewhat relevant and preferable. They always say preferable, and then some kind of notes, right? Again, your core major wasn't important, but what are they looking for, right? They're looking for people who can do all of these things because that's what the role is going to be like, okay? Now, just to show you another one, let's say front-end developer, right? So different kind of roles. And then when you kind of search this through, job requirements, this is your responsibility, what you're going to be doing when you take the job and when you go through the training. But if you look at the requirements, it just says fresh grad, right? And strong proficiency in HTML and CSS JavaScript, because that's what the role is going to be looking for, right? So what is the biggest takeaway from here? Your degree does not define you, okay? You can be in a different position, you can be in a different job. It does not define you, especially as a fresh grad, okay? Now, all these jobs made available to you, you just have to know what the skills and what the roles they're looking for. That is more important. What is the job going to look like, and what is the job wanting to do, right? And where this is coming from is, if 100 people are applying for this specific job, the next thing that the interviewer is going to figure out, or what is going to be really important for you, is can you showcase these skills, which is the responsibilities and the requirements. Do you know this, and can you showcase it? Two very important things. That's all that matters, okay? Because when you are in an interview, or even when you're at work, these are all the things that are going to come into play. Either A, you go and learn those skills, or B, you already know it, right? And how do you improve on that? And that's the core function of the learning environment and the lifelong learning journey that you're going to be in, right? So don't worry if you started in mechanical engineering, or you're in literacy, or you're in medical. It all happens today, and it can all continue as we go, and you can always change, because it comes down to knowing the skill. It comes down to knowing what kind of role that you're looking for. And the next thing you got to be thinking of, does this interest me, right? And do I want to know? But just looking back to the story just now, there is some logic to why my grandfather kept saying doctor, lawyer, engineer. When you go and search lawyers though, right, it's very, very specific. You need a law degree, okay? So doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant, unfortunately, you need a very specific degree. Everything else, it doesn't matter. And there is some truth to why your grandfather or your father or your mother kind of said doctor, lawyer, engineer, okay? So they had some wisdom to that. But the reality is there's so many opportunities in the world today, right, apart from that. But if you're a doctor, lawyer, engineer, technically you can do other things. It's just that it doesn't work the other way around, okay? So the core thing that I wanted to show you guys today is these are real examples, right? And real life examples of what exactly should matter, which is the responsibility and the requirements, is what the role is looking for, and how do you go about getting it, right? So, hey, I really want to be a front-end developer because it piqued my interest as a kid, or I piqued my interest today, or because that's where the world is going. But I'm a language major, or I'm a business major. Okay, so that's where you're at today, right? So knowing that these companies want these specific responsibilities and requirements, what do you do to go and get those skills, right? They're not saying that you can't apply. They're just saying go and get those skills and come and apply, right? And that's where your education continues, right? You can always change. You just have to go and pick up a new skill or learn a whole new skill, right? So the guys I told you about the other day, just now, the mechanical engineer, the math major, one guy, they're all seniors. One is a senior trader in a bank. One's a senior risk manager in a bank. The other guy is in a startup dealing with biochemical waste. There's so many ways that you can kind of look at it, and you just have to learn the skill, right? So what I really wanted to stress here today is just about learning skills and figuring out where to learn these skills, right? And you got YouTube, you've got universities, you've got training companies, you've got various different ways to look at it. It's just about learning a new skill, right? Just to give you more examples, I got a friend who was a nurse, did nursing for 2 to 3 years, realized that she kind of likes flowers quite a lot. So she started taking a full program on how to be a florist, right? And floral arrangements. Today, she runs her own florist company, delivering flowers to different people in Malaysia. My wife's really happy because I kind of subscribe to that florist, and I can kind of do that. I've got someone else who studied as a biomedical engineer. Okay, his job was to figure out how to do cancer research for almost 8 years. Okay, but over these 8 years, right, he started getting an inkling that he kind of really likes the stock market and really likes the world of finance. So he started taking programs, and he started taking YouTube lessons. Okay, it's a real thing, right? YouTube lessons is a real thing where you can learn on the go. And then when he started realizing, hey, I like finance more than my research, right? But then why would a company want to hire me? Because I come from research and biomedical research, right? This is finance companies. So what he did was, hey, I'm going to try to do a different career path. So while working in a research lab, he started taking his CFA, which is a program that it's a standalone program that anyone can take to learn about finance. It's the same equivalent of chartered accountancy, but in the finance world. So he kind of did level 1, level 2, level 3, and now he's a corporate finance analyst in Ernst & Young, right? And this guy he did it when he was 30 years old, right? So what I'm trying to stress here is there's no real trajectory. It all comes down to what kind of role you want, and then looking for the skills to go and find it, okay? And use the role and the studying that you already have as your core strength. Everybody is unique, okay? I don't know how to stress this enough. If you come from a biomedical engineering background and you go and apply for a job in finance, if that specific finance company so happens to be investing in pharmaceuticals or biotech, you're going to be a shoe-in for that role, right? Similarly, if you're a journalist, if you're a banker and you really like writing and you wanted to go into journalism, and you just go and look for papers that write about finance, you'll be a shoe-in as well, right? Because you will definitely stand out from other journalists who just write on general basis, right? Everybody has a very specific knowledge. And what specific knowledge is, it's something that's very unique to you. What you like doing, what you have background in, what influence do you have, all of that comes together to create a unique character that is you. And you are going to be the best person that you're at. No one else can copy you, right? You like certain things, you like certain industries, you like certain skill sets. And how you develop that is by taking on new and new skills through learning and through experience, right? If you are gamers, if any of you are gamers out there, if you're looking at it from a Dota element, there's no such thing as the perfect lineup, right? There's thousands of permutations in terms of carries and tanks and support. There's just so many ways, right? If you're into crypto and you look at Axie Infinity, there's multiple combinations in terms of how you can play that character, right? If you're playing an RPG game, like Sims or like Kingdom Hearts or something, or Pokemon, there's so many permutations, right? And everyone is unique, and everyone has a way to attack something else, right? Same logic, your life. How do you figure out what's unique to you And there's always going to be a company, or there's always going to be a job that really matches what you want. Whether it's the industry, whether it's the type of job, and whether it's the skill. Okay. So this is where it's going to come down to, right? So you're looking at responsibilities, and you're looking at what kind of role that you're looking for. Now, if you don't have that skill right now, but it's something of interest to you, you can then start taking courses on it. Okay. And courses can be done in multiple ways. You can either take it on the side by watching YouTube and reading up on blogs and just trying to figure out. You can take actual programs where you go for camps, or you go for boot camps and stuff like that. Or you can take online courses, and you can take anything for that learns and teaches you that skill set. But what is the most important thing to come out of that skill set is, how do I show the employer that I know this skill set? In every interview that you're going to do for the rest of your life, they're going to put you in a case study, or they're going to ask you questions that puts you in a situation. Those are all designed to be able to ask you to figure out whether you know your stuff, right? So when you take these courses, right, and when you go for the camps, how do you prove to someone that you know something, right? I give you an example. You're going to apply for a finance job. Yes, you have a degree in finance. So does 1,000 people. What makes me believe that you know your finance, right? And the core component of that is being able to show me something about finance, right? Maybe it's a model that you built. Maybe it's analysis that you wrote up. Maybe it's your brokerage account that you created and you've been dealing with stocks. That's one way, right? What if it's a job for journalism, right? How do you prove to the employer that you like journalism or you're good at it? They don't care about your degree. They want to see what you wrote, right? They want to see your blogs. They want to see your websites or your articles that you wrote for. That's all the things that you want to see, right? And that's really the core of it. How do you showcase the skill that you have learned, regardless of any skill that you learn, right? It can be for the fun of it. It can be for seriousness. How do you take that skill and showcase it to a potential employer or to a potential business partner that you're going to start with? Okay. So that's just the core of it, right? And it's never too late to start. Okay. It's never too late to start. It's never too late to change. What COVID has taught us is that a lot of people started exploring new ideas, right? A lot of people started exploring new and hobbies, new, what's the word for it? Skills, I would say. My wife decided that she wanted to see whether a career in hairstyling was for her. And I can show you that I've told her don't do it. You can't cut your hair, can't cut my hair properly. So no, don't do it. But it's also an opportunity to explore, right? When you take micro-credentials and when you take courses, it's an opportunity to explore whether you like it or not, right? You could take 1 month of it or 2 weeks of it and no, I don't want it. That's okay too. At least you know what you don't like, right? So you're going to be hearing the word micro-credentials quite a lot in the next few years, right? In the next future. Why is that the case? More and more employers like myself are starting to realize that skills are more important than the degree that you're showing me. Okay. I want to know what skills you have that matches the role that I'm trying to hire for, right? Whether it's a model, whether it's writing, whether it's floristry, it could be a lot of different things, right? So the word micro-credential, what that actually just means is short courses, okay? Short courses that signify that you have learned a specific skill. That's the fancy one. What it really just means is, did you learn something? Can you show me whether you learned it? All right, that's the core of it, right? And credentialing comes with badges and certificates to kind of prove that you've done it, right? It's just like your degree and your diploma. But what's more important, underneath that certificate and that badge is how can you show that you have learned something and you've done something? That's your actual work that you did, right? The thing that you created or the thing that you wrote. Try to imagine if you're a senior in university right now, do you still keep the first year report that you wrote and sent? Right? those reports are strong when you go and show an employer, because you can say, this is what I wrote. It's more powerful than, oh, I'm a journalist degree, right? I want you to kind of reimagine that, right? Go and start digging your Google Drive, go and start digging your Microsoft, compile all those files, because what you actually did is more important than the paper that you have. So same concept, the micro-credential, when they offer you the badges and certificates, what is it that came out of that learning is more important, right? So what micro-credential is, and it's basically an explanation of shorter courses. And why is shorter courses more important nowadays, or becoming more and more important, is most of you are already in a degree or a diploma or some kind of higher education institution. Once you finish, right, you're going to start working. Let's just say you graduated as a business major, but you really want to go into floristry, right? You are not going to go for another 3 years to go and learn about flowers to go and take that job in floristry, right? A lot of you don't have the time. A lot of you don't have the capacity. So micro-credentials is sometimes, I don't really care for all that. I just want you to know a specific skill within floristry. Learn that and then come and apply for that job. And that is going to be the new way we learn things. What you really want, you learn it. Because a lot of you are now thinking in your degree, like, why am I even taking this course? Like, why is it part of my credit, right? And these are all the different ways you can look at it, because you're taking shorter courses that will build up your profile in different types of skills and different types of requirements, okay? So what is micro-credential? Basically short courses, okay? Where can you take short courses? Anywhere. It can be YouTube, it can be blogs, it can be platforms such as OpenLearning, which is one of the largest in the world. You've got Coursera, you've got Udemy, you've got universities directly doing it. You've got small training companies running it. As long as it's knowledge, it's worthwhile, right? And make sure that knowledge is for you, right? And you can try it and you can let go of it and it just keep going. And you can kind of do multiple types of things. So what is micro-credential learning? Is it important? Yes, especially if you're trying to upskill yourself. B, trying to look for a new path or a new career, and it's never too late to start again. Okay, some of you are doing the degree because your scholarship said so, right? You had no choice because the scholarship said so. What I'm trying to tell you here, this is an opportunity. Take courses now itself, because you already know you don't like this degree, but you're doing it anyway. Go and take extra courses on the side that you are really interested in. When you go and apply for that job, they will take that degree that you have plus all the things that you've learned, and they will say, wow, this person is way better because she has this background, plus she's so interested in the topic that she went and took extra courses to learn about it, right? It's a whole different way of looking at it. So don't ever feel like you're stuck. Don't ever feel like the degree that you have dictates what you're going to do. Micro-credentials is the alternative to take on the side or as the main to go and start learning different skills to kind of create your character with different requirements, okay? It doesn't have to, so one question that came out was, is the cheap one better than is the expensive one better than the cheap one, okay? The way I would position it is no such thing, okay? Any course is valuable if it teaches you something. And as long as you can get a skill out of it, it's as important because you can showcase that skill and use that skill ultimately, right? The expensive ones always have a branding to it because there's a badge and a certificate that comes with the brand from saying it's, Ivy League or something like that. Yes, there is some value to it, but ultimately employers are looking for the skill. If you can showcase the skill, it doesn't matter what your badge says. It doesn't matter what your cert says. So how do you showcase that and how do you learn? So you look for courses that will actually teach you that course, that skill, that subject, okay? And that's when you kind of really learn into it. So I'm just going to share my screen once again, just to show you a little bit. Okay, can you see?
Can see.
OpenLearning? Yeah, so guys, if you're ever free, check out openlearning.com, right? There's a whole lot of courses that you can choose from. We've got courses from, how to do personal finance. Guys, please learn this before you graduate. Any website or any blog will do. You can learn things from Snapchat, introduction to entrepreneurship, AI, machine courses, cybersecurity. There's a whole series of courses that you can learn from. One interesting one, if you ever want to go into programming, we have a program we're launching very soon, CS 101, where it breaks down the fundamentals of computer science. So if you're coming from a whole different background, this is perfect courses, right? Because it teaches you from the ground up in terms of what it goes. Some are paid, some are free, but this is where I want to show you the matching, okay? Just now, the job scope and the job role, where they say I need someone to be able to do X, like manage this or do digital marketing or create Excel sheets. So whenever you look at a course, find out what is the outcome of this course. What will I be able to learn from this course? Okay? And does it match the jobs that I want for this current moment? Right? And that's how you kind of pick the courses that you're looking for. Yeah. And this is just one example. If you're all graduating soon, and if you're all about there, we've got other courses that's also like a primer for you, where how to get hired and how to get a job, where it trains you on resume writing, CV writing, interviews, and how to kind of like really think through the questions. There's even an offer right now where this is the Australian version, Aussie dollars 99, but we have a Malaysian version which is 99 ringgit. So you can kind of like get that cheaper and get that for fun. And also other courses where it kind of teaches you about personal branding and personal marketing by Mr. Norizan Sharif, where it's only 30 ringgit to enroll. So these are different kinds of programs that you can kind of look into to kind of just like get an overall feel of how you would like to kind of take your adventure to the next level. Yeah. So I'm going to start taking some questions now. And I'll just go with it, right? Just add more questions. It can be about microcredentials, it can be about programs, it can be about anything, right? How to find a microcredential that is suitable for us, or should we try to grab all the chances in front of us? My answer to that is you don't have time for everything. You really don't. The whole point of it, I think, is deep down, you kind of already know what's interesting to you and what is not. Now it's about trying to explore that interest to see whether it actually makes sense for you or is it just a nice to have. So what I would do is kind of write down, hey, look at all the jobs that are out there. What piques your interest? Start talking to people around that job scope and seeing whether you like it. If you do, start finding out what kind of skills are required for that job role. Then start looking for the courses based on that. You might get it wrong on the first round, that's okay. And then do it the second time, do it the third time. You can do it 10 years later, that's okay as well, right? It's always about improving yourself and upgrading and trying to level up, so to speak. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. So start with the type of role that you're looking for, and how you do that is by asking people, talking to people, watching TV to see, oh, that's quite cool. How do I get a role like that, right? And then you start talking to people in that industry, find out what skills are they looking for, and then go and get that skill. And then there's a whole lot of programs out there that will be able to help you with that microcredential. Cool. So add that. If I were to go for finance or an administrative field from a science background, what online learning platform or any tips on how to dive in the industry aside from taking a degree? Because I already have one which is based in science. Whoever you are, I can tell you that the finance industry will love you more because you come from a science background. They like the way science people think. There's a very structured manner to it, and it adds a lot more flavor to the job that you're going to take. So don't be scared. Like I said in my story, I was sitting next to chemical engineers and mechanical engineers, so you're perfectly okay. But it really depends on what kind of finance you're going to go into to determine what kind of fields what kind of courses you should take. So if you're going into the accountancy kind of field, then an ACCA or something smaller than that could be relevant. If you're going into finance, then CFA could be something worthwhile checking out, or other banking association short courses, like anything from MIT is offering a few things now, Harvard is offering a few things, or there's just basic introduction to accounting or introduction to finance, just to kind of get a flavor to see whether you're actually genuinely interested. Because some of you want to go into finance because that's where the money is. That's okay too. But understand that what is that role, and then see whether you like it. Whether you like it is by taking some short courses to see whether, oh, does this make sense? Is this interesting? And then move on. So I hope that answers the question. In terms of what kind of platform, OpenLearning has a bunch of courses, but you can also go to international ones like Coursera. You've got edX. You've got university-specific universities offering programs, even like MIT, Harvard, Malaysian universities like USM, UM. They're all offering programs. So you just have to kind of pick one and kind of go through, like I said, the learning outcomes or the degree that you think, or the cost that you think will have, right? Whether you can learn that. But whatever course you take, when you do go and apply for that finance job or that administrative job, when you're in that interview, showcase what you learned from those courses. That shows that you're genuinely interested to enter the industry, even though you came from science. And show what you learned, right? In terms of the model that you created or the accounting book that you had to balance, so to speak, and you can kind of take it from there. Cool. Hope that answers that question as well. I would like to try tech roles. Is it enough to have micro-credentials? This industry is the best industry where degrees don't matter. I'm not sure if you guys have been reading. Google, Facebook, Amazon, they all stopped looking at your degrees already. You can now get a job within Google by taking a 3-month program or a 6-month program that's even run by Google themselves, right? Microsoft is having programs like that as well. You've got companies like that CS 101 program that I showed you. OpenLearning is going to launch very soon. It'd be a really great program to kind of look into because it kind of teaches you from the ground up how computer science is. And they're tying up with huge companies in Australia in terms of tech players to kind of recognize that program as well. And then you've got Malaysian counterparts as well, like Next and Mereka, who's doing a really great job as well in terms of those kind of programs. So is it enough to have micro-credentials? Yes, it is for tech, but it comes down to showing that you can do it, right? So take the courses, build stuff, and then showcase to your interviewer that you know what you're talking about or you have the basics to kind of learn more, right? It's all about showing that you know something and showing that you have tried it and this is the outcome. So take the course, build something, show it, and yes, you can go into tech roles for that. So the next question is, how do I prove a course that I learned through YouTube? Now that's a very tricky one. It really depends on the interviewer that you're dealing with. But what I would answer is the same thing above, which is whatever you've learned on YouTube, do it for yourself, right? So for example, if they're teaching you how to code something, actually do the code, right? Build it, write that code, try to create something. If it's in finance, create that model or create that balance sheet. And then when you go for that interview, show that work, show that piece of work to say, hey, I'm really interested in industry. I took a bunch of courses online. Some are free, some are paid, and these are the things that I built along the way. And this is what I know. That will be worth a lot more than just showing the paperwork or the degree or to say that I did from YouTube. YouTube has a lot of great content, It's just that you need to take that and apply it. Okay, you need to make sure that you try to do something with it, and that's where the value comes, because you need someone to check your work and also kind of like get some friends maybe or people that you know in this as seniors to kind of help you there. Right, so YouTube is not it's there. I think sometimes there's more information than some universities as well because it's updated, right, with the latest people talking about it. But it's about doing the actual work, and then making sure it's right and making sure you're talking to people, and then being able to show that. So having a portfolio is really important. Portfolios are taught to usually graphic students or architects. Guys, I need to tell you that every industry should have portfolios, okay? Finance, engineering, anything, because you need to be able to showcase your work, showcase the work that you're doing. And that's really important. And that's what we miss out on. Like I said, right, you forgot the projects that you did in year 1, year 2, right? But all those projects actually showcase to an employer what you actually know and what you actually don't know when it comes to that topic. So, you even check out OpenLearning. OpenLearning has a free e-portfolio system that you can kind of utilize. But at the same time, it doesn't matter whether it's e-portfolio or portfolio, as long as you have a portfolio to be able to showcase to potential employers, or if you're going to start up your own business, right? Showcase that you can do your stuff. is the quality of free and paid the same? There is no difference. It comes down to the course provider. Whether it's a free program or paid is irrelevant. It is whether the course teaches you what you're supposed to learn. And ultimately, whether you can do the thing that they say you're going to do, right? So for example, if they say, hey, this course is going to teach you about programming in say a basic language, and after that course, could you actually program, right? Whether it was free or paid, it doesn't matter, right? You can code, right? And that's where it comes down to, right? So not necessarily all the paid ones are really good. And everyone's different, right? And everyone's really subjective about it. You can go to a really expensive restaurant and you can taste bad because you don't like it, right? Oh, because same logic. You can go to a really expensive university, but that specific program could be really bad. Either way, you came out bad, right? So ultimately, what is the outcome? So is the quality free or paid the same? I would say yes. It just comes down to who's the course provider and the way the course is designed to actually get you to learn something, right? There's even new programs now, which is I believe EcoKL, which is run by Sunway, which is also teaching you about programming, and that's free as well, that you can kind of do that. Do you have suggested platforms to search for micro-credentials? Yeah, OpenLearning, that's one. You can do Coursera, Udemy, edX, General Assembly, every single university that you can think of. You can search that and see whether they have an online version or online short programs. Central banks of Malaysia will offer some things. Insurance companies offer things. Google offers their own micro-credentials. Facebook does. Amazon does. So if you're really interested in digital marketing, check out Google's courses. You can check out Facebook's courses. Another good platform would be HRDF's latest platform called eLatte. There's a lot of free courses there as well for you to check out to kind of learn different skills. So there's different kind of programs. So to kind of summarize it, there's a lot of online learning platforms out there, OpenLearning being one of them. You have universities, specific universities that you have in mind that you think, okay, finance university, this is really famous, right? Check them out to see whether they have some online programs. You've got government-run programs such as HRDS, eLatte, you've got Bank Negara programs, Securities Commission programs, depending on which industry you're looking for. So what I would think of is industry first, and then find out who's the best in that industry, and then try to search whether they have programs in that sense. How do I showcase the skills that I've learned? Okay, sorry, the question is, how do I showcase the skills that I learned in my CV if it is not certified? I'm glad you asked this question. When I asked you to show me your degree in business, how do I know that you have done a model? How do I know you have done a write-up on a report? I don't know, right? So regardless of whether you have the cert or not, show the work, right? It could be the PDF document. It could be the Excel file. It could be the code that you created. Show the actual work to the employer or to the person you're talking to. He or she will ask you a couple of questions and will know whether you did it or not. And when he or she sees that, you're way better off. So even if it's not certified or not, if you built it, it's great, right? So I'm not sure if you all saw that Steve Jobs movie where Wozniak was creating something from the connected to his TV, right? That's not certified in any way, right? But he kind of like just showed it to someone, and that's where it kind of takes off. So I hope that answers that as well. Is certificate from the online course important? Same answer. It's important to kind of just show that you have something, but what's more important is being able to show the work that you did. Sometimes the cert or the badge opens the door, but you still come to the interview, right? That interview, they will still ask you about the work that you actually did. So yes, it's important, but not as important as the actual work that you did. And that will be more important than anything else. Are the skills learned through extracurricular activity experience good? I'm going to match this with another question where is volunteering considered a micro-credential as well? So guys, when you come back down to what is the core, right? When you're volunteering or when you're doing extracurricular activities, for example, helping out an NGO or creating a campaign, raising funds for something, don't look at it superficially as I raise funds for this, right? It's the same thing as I have a degree in engineering. I want you to go down one step further, which is what did you do for that campaign? I'm the one that went out to look for sponsors and I found 100 sponsors to donate $1 million. I'm the one that did the digital marketing campaign to run ads so that that campaign can raise $1 million. This is the campaign I did and this is how I did it. So all these extracurricular activities that you're doing is actually skill sets that companies are looking for. You need to be able to explain that component. Don't explain that I just worked for an NGO or I helped out in a campaign. Explain what you did for that campaign, right? I ran the digital marketing campaign and this is what I did for it. I went out to look for sponsors. This is how I looked for the sponsors. That's all important, and all of these are considered credentials. They might not chop it as a credential or a badge to give it to you, but when you go for the interviews, these are going to be very important because I can tell that you know what you're talking about and you actually have the experience. You know, there's a joke out there right now, right, for fresh grads. Fresh grad opportunity, 5 years experience required, right? That kind of jokes are out there. Extracurricular activities are a way in, right? You are able to showcase that you're actually working by doing all these campaigns and doing all this work to be able to showcase to a job. All right, I hope that kind of answers that question as well. Is it necessary? So the question is it necessary to have the certificate when you apply for the job? It depends on the job. Most of the times they're looking for the proof that you learned something, which is most likely the case. But don't be disheartened when sometimes some companies are a little bit more traditional where they just want to see the cert. Unfortunately, it is there, but more importantly, showcase the learning, right? The key component here is showcase the learning. But yeah, if you have the cert or the badge, you'll be better because it kind of proves it, but not the most important thing. May I know what short course or famous? Sorry, went down. May I know what short course are more famous and valuable right now? Is it digital finance, interpersonal, or whatnot? So to my point, there's no such thing as the perfect skill. Okay, everyone is going to be very unique. It really comes down to what is interesting to you. If you are interested in finance somewhat, within finance, what are the skills required? And that's when you go for. If you're really interested in selling or talking, go in and then look for all the skills that are relevant for them. So there's no such thing as the most famous. But if I want to answer you in a different way, what are the foundation courses that will allow you to apply to anything? Yes, interpersonal skills in terms of how to sell and how to talk. Regardless of whatever job you do, talking and influencing your teammates and influencing your market is important. So being able to speak and articulate is really important. Computational thinking, critical thinking, or design thinking would be really important because that can be applied to anything. It kind of gives you a good foundation, right? In terms of like the building blocks, it kind of creates the base for you and better. Everything else is industry specific, right? And then you would have to go and look at that specific industry to see whether you like it. Because finance could be a really big thing, but if you don't like finance, what's the point, right? Yes, the money is there, but if you don't enjoy it, you're going to suffer. Don't do it. There's money in so many other industries, right? Just go for what you think you like. Try it. You don't like it, try something else. If you like it, great, keep going, right? There's no such thing as one answer for the rest of your life. And just remember that part as well. So just a follow-on question. If I do the course and there's no cert and there's no badge, that's where and how do you write it to your resume? You say, take courses or took courses or X course on programming or whatever skill that you took. Explain what you did in bullet points. That explanation will tell me whether you know what you're talking about as well. And then when you come for the interview, they're probably going to ask you about it and then be ready to showcase your work. Or you can attach an appendix, right? Always as a proof of work, as a document. So no problem at all. So it's important to showcase the work. Is one course enough or multiple skills to show credibility? Again, remember I said you're a unique character, right? Different jobs, different roles. It really comes down to that role, whether it's important for that role. You could be a chemical engineer with a finance interest. You're applying to a company that invests in chemical based course engineering companies. That works as well, right? So it really comes down to different things. You need to go and find out for that specific role what skills are required. And if you already have 4 out of 5, then technically you only need to learn 1 skill, right? If you are missing 2 out of 5, then you have to go learn 3, right? So that kind of answers that in that way. Do you think degrees will be obsolete in the future because of micro-credentials? I don't think it'll be obsolete, but I think it'll be hand in hand. There will be options for everyone. Some people want to take short courses and go for it. Some people want to take the whole program. I think it's going to live in cohere, side by side. It's just there's always going to be a room for both sides. Yeah. But I think micro-credentials as a concept is becoming bigger and bigger, actually globally. Google, Amazon, all doing it now. If you have already a job secured, are micro-credentials the key to work your way to the top? It really depends on the job, right? If going up for promotion requires you to have a new skill, then you need to go get that skill. If the promotion is based upon the job or the work that you're doing, then no, you don't need a micro-credential for the promotion, right? So it really comes down to understanding what is required for the role that you want, right? You're always thinking for the role that you want, not for the role that you have, right? So if it's a promotion requires you to be more in depth with a certain type of skill, then you need to go and learn that skill. It could be language, right? Maybe you're running a regional company, and for you to get promoted, you need to handle the Chinese market as well. So if you don't know Mandarin, how are you going to run that department, right? So maybe part of it as the component is to go and learn Mandarin as part of your new skill. And that's a credential as well, right? I can speak multiple language. Or sometimes you marry, for me, like you marry a Chinese girl and you better learn Mandarin, or not your kid is not going to speak to you, and they can have secrets among themselves and you won't know. Right? So it depends on what the requirements for your skill. Yeah. Doesn't it feel like taking a degree is a waste of time? Because taking short courses in the internet is much more valuable. I think there's a guy called Naval, Ravikant, that kind of explained this better than me. It really comes down to you. If you have to question whether I should take a degree or not, take the degree. Short courses and going straight into employment is only for people who are very sure of what they want and very sure of the skill set that's required to be successful in what they want. If you don't know, the world that we're living in today is not so modern that micro-credentials is the only answer. A degree still gives you a very nice safety and foundation for that. Check him out. I think it'd be really good for you to kind of read up on it and why. So I don't think it's a waste of time. It really depends on your outcome and what you want to do. And there's a huge value to going to university. It's just a matter of whether you utilize it to your outcomes that you want. All right, guys. We have 5 more minutes. I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I can. Right. I'm going to do quick fire given the time. How about learning a new language? How can I showcase the skill? Very easy. When you're doing an interview, speak the language. And then you can kind of do that. Or, and this is where e-portfolios matter, right? When you send video interviews, you can send a video speaking in that said language that you want to kind of showcase, right? It's all about proving it, right? So you can showcase it via video. You can showcasing it via being in that interview, talking in that language as well, right? That's the quickest way to do that. Can you recommend any courses that are needed for most jobs to make fresh graduates relevant to the industry? I'm really sorry, but for me, this is the same question as previous. It really depends on the industry. I can tell you that in finance, you would probably need to know the basics of accounting, basics of financial modeling. Whether you actually need it fully, maybe not, but you need the basics down, to, at least from an accountancy point of view, right? What is one step further than that? Because you're fresh grads, make sure you learn how to interview. And when I say how to interview, is how to showcase yourselves. You are not defined by your degree. You're not defined by the title. You're defined by all the skills that you have and the experiences that you have. Being able to articulate or tell the story of who you are, like I did this and this is the things I learned. I did this and this is the kind of skills I have. makes a big difference in terms of all your interviews that you're going to do. So I would really practice on that. In terms of the skills that are relevant to the industry, what a cheat code is, go to Hiredly, go to LinkedIn, look at the industry that you're looking for, look at all the job postings for fresh grads, look at all the roles they're asking for. Ask yourself, can you do this? Do you like it? Should I go and learn about it now? And that's how you kind of figure it out. And every industry is going to be very different in terms of all the new things that they're looking for. Yeah. What is a book you would recommend to motivate learning? There's no one book. There's so many things that you got to keep reading. I can tell you what I'm reading right now. I'm reading the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I think that's a great book. Another book would be Peter Thiel, Zero to None. There's HubSpot in terms of inbound marketing, if you're into marketing. I'm sorry, there's so many books. We can always chat later. You can send me an email. I can kind of talk to you about it more as well. What do we do if the courses we take are completely different from the degree that we're doing? Do you think it's attractive or do you think it's messy looking? I think it's perfect. If you can do this, it's great because it kind of shows that you're really interested in the topic, right? So like I said, if you can kind of mix and match your skills, there will always be one company that finds it very unique and I want to take that and hire you because of that unique mismatch and unique capability, right? Just look at all the people there. Steve Jobs didn't kind of graduate from programming per se. You got Elon Musk, who's doing so many different things. You've got people in Malaysia like Tony Fernandez, from music to planes to now, a super app. You've got different people doing different skills. There will always be something attractive to the employer for the skill set that you're doing, because ultimately, if you took that course, it means you like it, and if you like it, there's interest in that topic, right? That means I know that you're somewhat interested. So if I'm a finance, let's just say I'm working in a bank and you're a finance major and you're applying, or you're a science degree major who took a bunch of courses in finance to come and apply, the guy who took all that bunch of courses, I know his interest is a whole lot more because he actually made the effort to go out of his way to go learn more and then come in, right? So same, that kind of a logic to that as well. So there's a very unique way to do that, but it's not messy looking at all. Everyone's unique, so don't ever fear learning anything new. Foreign languages has a good micro-credential? Yes. Any language is important because it kind of cuts across any industry, especially if you're interested in that country or in that topic. I'm learning Mandarin myself at the moment for work, but also because I have a child and I don't want my child talking to my wife without me knowing. Just kidding. Sorry, guys. I'm practicing dad jokes as well, so just bear with me. Yeah. Do you have any tips on how you can balance our time between work and continuous learning? Set the time. If it's important to you, you would set the time. Either you do it in the morning when no one's disturbing you, 1 hour a day, or just show up 2 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. Make sure you schedule it in. Don't tell yourself that you'll kind of like work on it today. Set a time, just like a meeting, right? You're going to meet someone at 2 o'clock, set it up, 2 o'clock, you're going to do it. If I'm learning Mandarin and the requirement needs a Mandarin speaker, am I still qualified to apply for the job? Why don't you try? Because what you think is enough or what you think is competent might be very different from what they think is enough, right? So you only know this by finding out through what is the minimum level of Mandarin that you need, because some jobs require very basic, some jobs require really in-depth knowledge or linguistic skills. So it really depends. Guys, I'm really sorry for talking very fast, but you're just trying to match the time so to answer as many questions as I could. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. It's great that we have a lot of engagement with our audience today. Thank you also, Mr. Sarveen, for taking the time to properly answer each and every question that had been posed. So with that, we have now reached the end of our program. Thank you to everyone for spending some time with us today. To Mr. Sarveen, also thank you for your contribution and insights. Personally, I found the session very helpful for me, especially when it's mentioned about how in the current virtual world, opportunities isn't hard to find, and learning new skills for a role is no longer a big challenge today, thanks to YouTube, MOOC, Microcredentials, and so on. Though what's most important is whether or not we can showcase it to to potential of employers, be they during the interview or through through our resume and having a portfolio. So with that said, our next session will later begin at 3 p.m. So stay tuned, everyone. And for our next and last session of the day, we'll bring you Miss Norida Azmi, who is passionate about youth development, to share on the topic of degree and career path. More specifically, does your degree define you? So interested? Feel free to tune in despite not having pre-registered. Reminder to do so 10 minutes prior so that we can start the session on time. Also, a gentle reminder to our fellow audience, please do not forget to fill in our feedback form, which will pop up on your screen upon exiting the Zoom call. Every feedback given will certainly help us to gain more insights for better execution of future programs. So, having that said, have a good break and see you then. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mr. Sarveen.
Good job, Fatin. Well done.